So, why did I become a QS? Pretty good question, I think. So, I was born into the industry. I was on building sites from about the age of 12 or 13. No, maybe not 12, 13. During the summer. Even before that, I would have been in the van with my dad running around. He took a redundancy package from Guinness's. I think he just got bored in the end. He'd been there for a good while and was about going out and making his own mark in life, and automation was coming in, and it was great because we used to get into the back end of Guinness's and run around. But I was about 7, 8, 9, 10, and he went out on his own and opened up his own business, so I would have worked with him. And it was just brilliant because not only did I learn skills, but you also learned a whole pile of social skills that you just don't get to see. Just don't get to see. Even later when I came back, I helped him out once or twice, and I went to a job, and he turned to me and he said, "Do not let your eyes deceive. Do not let your eyes betray you." And we went into a difficult family dynamic, and I was only aware of what he was saying when we were in there. There was a lot of illness and sickness, and it might have seemed like a small little nuance, but when you've a lifetime of small little nuances and you are operating with somebody as your father who's also multi-leveled, your hero in so many different ways, to be able to role model off that and to see it and to internalize it over time, and then to actually take away from internalizing it and to rationalize it, to sequentize it, to reframe it, and then to realize that you have to then do the same. So that on the tools is a lifetime story in itself. Running jobs, helping them run jobs, going to get materials, which I was awful at. Toes and bends for all I'd always come back with the wrong AJs, the wrong gullies. There's only one way to, and he'd send me back. He said it was not. He'd send me back, and he'd send me back and back and back. I could be in Chadwick's all day, and he didn't mind because it was a learning curve. And then run my own business, and then all that experience come back in. So this is, unlike most quantity surveyors, I was born into a construction family. I was the son of a builder. I was a labourer, skilled labourer. I had my own painting business. Well, I wouldn't quite call it that, but just before, to get enough cash to go to the States, I had my own restoration things, turn around his business for marketing. I was fortunate enough to go up to the Marketing Institute of Ireland when it was then, and then also running jobs, and then run my own business. And one stage I would have had, between the commercial and the restoration business in the States and the pub, but I had about 60 employees. It was a lot. Was I good about it? Sometimes. But you learn systems, you learn people, you learn dynamics, you learn integration, you learn separation, you learn difference between leadership and different types of leadership and management. You learn crisis management, situational management. If you're clever enough, you get a bit of time to reflect upon this. If you're really clever, you get a good coach to help you, and I was very lucky that I did. And that coach was also graphic facilitator as well. So a lifetime of learning with different lenses: psychoanalytic lenses, psychological, group analytical, organizational behavior. So you can kind of see this growth hasn't stopped, and I guess the next one will be around mediation, arbitration, down the road, management consultancy as well. So only in construction, but still run my own. So there's progression. Makes life interesting. And one of the things that occurred to me, never forget it, there was a job, it was one of my first jobs, I talked about it before, the Muse then Mount Marion Avenue, and it was my first time in the man's world, and they were men, and tough men, and 5 o'clock on Friday, the wage packages used to come in a little brown envelope with all the calculations, but the guys were talking about one guy called Paddy, and he was going to work in the buses in Donnybrook, and I had no idea what Paddy was, but they were all saying the buses and the fumes were going to kill the poor man, but he thought it was going to be easier on his body, and it left an indelible mark on my psyche. Construction physically has a lifespan, and otherwise it starts to break down. Unless you're one of these ridiculously gifted physically human beings like my father, who went to the age of about 70 and was still pottering around even when he retired. I don't even think he did. Well, he stopped, like he was always pottering. But I can remember him getting results that weren't good and going back out and finishing extensions. I can remember him every morning getting up at 7 in the morning. Hands of shovel syndrome. But there is a timeline, and you go to most construction jobs, and if you see somebody over the age of, and this is very, very, very generalistic, but if you see somebody elderly, unfortunately not always in great shape, and that was really keen upon me, that this is a brilliant lifestyle, brilliant to be outdoors, but it has a timeline on it. And I was very fortunate that academia has always been something that I've gravitated towards, had an interest in. Am I good at it? I doubt it. But what I am good at it is cross-pollination, of integration of different disciplines. And I like to study things from multiple different angles, and no matter which way I was looking at it, philosophically, physically, mentally, emotionally, that was the timeline that I got in and anchored into my head, that was, and I progressed before that age, but I just, I was always progressing in and out of it. So part of the reasons was it's a brilliant occupation to be outdoors and fresh air, but that reaches a threshold, and so yeah, and I often think about all of those guys and struggles and hardships. Yeah, I do. So this cycle, labour as a foundation, and which was brilliant because it actually hardwires you neurologically. You get used to energy and focus and crisis management, and I made a couple of mistakes, and one stage I think I probably worked about 100 days in a row. I can even think I'll do a short one on that, but I kind of pushed it to a limit at different stages, so overdid it definitely, but that's the nature of the business. You got to, and you wake up on Saturday morning to go for a walk and you hear saws and hammers and guys are at it, and then it was about an indoctrination, seeing patterns, seeing residual patterns, recognition of patterns, and it was a gradual movement towards otherness that had been started at a very young age by my parents, with the duplicity of education and physical effort. But there is no greater feeling in the world than standing back. I still get it today, but there's no better There's no better feeling in the world than looking back at something that you physically made. And that's why you often see CEOs of Fortune 500s, and they usually have some sort of physical activity. Sport, running, fishing, hunting, if that's what you're into, and often something to do with their hands as well. And now I only get that at the very end of a project, because you're part of the, I'm not part of the whole physical development, and I can't say that I am, but there is a complete and utter euphoricness to finishing a project and for the clients and getting it finished. So trade, as I said to you before, painting business, running projects, a little bit of the corporate world was okay and stayed for a while. It was enjoyable. I felt like I wasn't doing that much, to be honest with you. I felt it lacked rawness and real intent, and I felt I was very distant from the end user. So that's why I didn't stay in that environment, and that suits certain people, it wasn't me. And then formal education, which I've always been good at, and I've always kept it up, and I would not say I'm intelligent, I'm not quite sure, but I'm very well educated. So, and that continues. That's just something that I like to do and challenge. And then independent practice as well. So, yeah. So, for me, it's philosophical disposition, passion for education, reading the field, and loving the actual environment itself. One of the things I love about construction, people are real. People are real. They are what they are inside the house as they are in the building site. Irrespective of their disposition or roles, they tend to be who they are, which is brilliant. So for me, it was about this, prolonging my career. It was about, I'm still on sites, love building sites, love people, love going saying hello, love seeing the development. Unfortunately, lack of it. I love protecting people in the whole journey. I love processing the group dynamics and bringing people along together, because otherwise it doesn't work. We're holistically got to work together. If we're at loggerheads, it just doesn't work. Love being outdoors, love, I have a lovely balance between analytical, deep research, deep mathematical measurements, estimations, deep tools, I guess, but the balance of the computer-based analyticalness with the outdoor personal, interpersonal skills. It's a great combination, really is. And a longer life, and the great thing about this is my hours aren't set. I get up early, always have, get up early, do hours, do school runs, come back, do more hours, twice a week, go to the gym, come back, do more hours, do family life, go for a walk, come back, do more hours in the evening. So it doesn't matter when the hours are done. Some days are full of meetings, other days are more variety based. So, yeah, travel, and some of these other legacies, YouTube channel, yeah, I was in San Francisco when it was all kicking off, and, well, actually, the reason I got into the YouTube was I was doing a job and I had a client. I was in Mayfair, I had a client back in Dublin. I was sending videos of the daily work, couldn't send them on a drive, so sent it up on YouTube, didn't realise what I was doing, made it public, and then before you know it, it got a huge amount of views, and then I started getting more work in Mayfair, which I'd actually only gone for about 10 days. So I learned my lesson, and I said, oh, private, okay, I understand. And then before you know it, grew my base, and shared knowledge of it is just phenomenal. Finished my first book, it's published, which is great. Ooh, probably got a lot more than 500 projects. It just depends on different things. At one stage I was doing 100 a year in restoration. We had 4 crews doing Painted Ladies, San Francisco, Nova Valley and the Castro, and we would divide it up. One crew, and projects could go from 2 weeks to 6 weeks to some of them at 6 months or a year full on, but the vast majority be about a month long. So getting through 60, 70, 80 projects a year, which was great. But now, hate to say, I'm getting a little bit older, and it's about legacy. What I'm going to pass on. How am I going to wrap up the educational, and how do I wrap up and understand the pattern recognition and bring predictability into my practice, not just for me but for my clients, for the builders, for the project, and then how do I extrapolate that forward to make it an educational base as well. So that is why, in short, born into it, love it, have a passion for it, absolutely love the authenticness of people in it, clients as well, being hardwired to do this all my life and never not done it in different genres. London, Amsterdam for a while during summers, Delft during the same summer, Sydney, New Jersey, New York, Manhattan, Scarsdale for a while, Portland, Oregon, and San Francisco. I really regret, even though LA isn't a city that I naturally gravitate towards, I really regret not doing a couple of jobs down there. Just think it would have been different to see different and North California, South California be different, philosophically, mentally, emotionally, all that, culturally, but it would have been different to work down there. And I guess that's what really excites me, new environments, new people, and then coming back home. So that's why I guess on one level it was inevitable, a builder son becoming a quantity surveyor. Unfortunately my dad wasn't fully conscious of what was happening. He had a good sense of it, but wasn't fully conscious of what was happening when I was making the transition. At different stages he was. So on one level it was always going to happen, and I'm very glad that it has. Extremely happy to be where I am. It's an utter privilege to work for builders and to help for them, and I even find more of a privilege to work for homeowners, and to get healthy, decent outcomes for everybody. It's got to be win-win. Philosophically it's got to be win-win. If it isn't win, it just doesn't work. If it isn't win-win, somebody loses, and then that doesn't work. So that's what am I doing? Sorry folks, that is why I became a quantity surveyor. So it was innate, habitual, reinforced continuously, and it hits physical outdoors, social interaction, analytically stretched, plus it gives opportunities for further growth and change, mentally, emotionally, and educationally down the road as well. Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys and ladies. Thank you so much, because really appreciate your sharing time. Thanks so much.